we go back to, I mean, this is a different type of horsepower that we've seen in the past at Sandown. It's a great racetrack.
Well, there was actually a car racing circuit there before the racetrack, I think. The racetrack didn't open until 1965, but it really is a jewel in Victorian racing and Australian racing. It's the workhorse of the industry. It just takes a lot of meetings over winter months. There's 2 tracks there, the lakeside and the hillside. Every horse gets a chance. That's on opening day there, back in 1965, a horse trained by Bon Hoysted, and it's a bit hard to tell in that photo, but I'm reliably informed the strapper of that horse, the horse being Amphion, is one Margaret MacDonald, wife of the late Ross and mother of her own Clinton.
Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah, part of the Hoysted family, and of course the Hoysteds, we think straight away of Manikato. There's been so many great horses that have raced at Sandown. The Gundawindi Grey and the mighty Gunsind, the Man Manikato. Well, Vo Rogue around Sandown. Imagine if he raced at the lakeside, he'd be hard to catch, wouldn't he? Let's Elope. Zipping has just taken all before him there, and a Melbourne Cup winner in American also winning. The last Group 1 at Sandown, so we think back, when was that? Well, it was in 1996. It's the last time we've had a Group 1, and that was when renovations to Caulfield. It was the Oakley Plate won by Drum. Now, Craig Williams rode in this race. He ran 3rd. Damien Oliver rode in this race. He ran 10th. Brett Preble rode in the race. He ran 13th. And Damien Lane, well, he was 2. And Caitlin Mallion wasn't quite 2 at that stage in 1996. It's a long time away, Katie. We had the CF4 Stakes as well, so it's got a great history, Sandown.
It has, and you wouldn't find a jockey anywhere in Australia that has ridden at Sandown say that they don't like the track. It is beautiful to ride at. It gives every horse a chance. There is a little slight dip at about just before the 400 metres, and a lot of horses don't quite like that dip, but it's just so big and spacious, and the surface is always perfect. Even when we get the weather, it handles that well, and I'm thrilled to see Group 1 today run in the Underwood. Yeah,
you talk about the dip, Katie. Take us through riding there. I mean, is this the last time you rode there, or is this just one of the many wins that you had there?
Yeah, it's just one of them. Did you see what I did there with the whip? Just swapped it over there. I'm just joking. Yeah, this is vintage ladder. Winner a few years back, quite young there, Richo, but yeah, that dip, it does bring a lot of horses undone because it's at the time where you take the horse off the bridle. So a lot of horses, having that insecurity off the bridle don't like that uncertainty of down the hill. So, yeah, it does bring a lot of them undone, and the tough ones do survive it.
You're a little teenager there. I just wanted to grab your cheeks there, just jumping off the horse. Great memories of Sandown. Hey, big news also, Stephen King, Group 1 winning jockey, Melbourne Cup and Caulfield Cup winning jockey. What a star he was in the saddle. We remember with great fondness his performance on Let's Elope. He's now going to be
Flemington for the last few years, Steve, with Steve Richards, I think, learning the ropes, and he'll be, well, there's too many trainers as it is, Rich. It's a competitive business out there, but I'm sure he'll make a really good fist of it.
He's a great horseman, that's a given. But when you're a horse trainer, it's also about the business. You know better than anyone, actually dealing with owners and, trying to get clients in. That's the big challenge.
Yeah.
Quality rider, and Caitlin, he can ride light, which is important when we look at some of the Epsom handicap weights.
Yeah, and looking at Riadini's been chasing home Very Elegant in weight for ages. So he drops 8 kilos next week in the Epsom, carrying just a light weight of 51 kilos. So you think that looking at that sort of weight scale, he's nearly a certainty there, dropping all the weight. And Hungry Heart profile is very similar to Probabile. So, she's got to be a very, very good chance in a race like the Epsom with 51 kilos on her back as well.
Well, you say certainty. I say $6, Riadini. That's what you can have. Hungry Heart at $8. A Tissue at $11 gets in light as well. Mwanga will be running in the Epsom and then have the option whether to go out to 2,000 metres for a race like the Cox Plate, or whether or not coming back in trip for the Golden Eagle. So much to look forward to. Hey, Zaki's trying to create a unique double to win the Underwood and then build towards a Cox Plate, Katie. A little like Ocean Park did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, have done it. There's been 12, in fact, but, you know, we can see Ocean Park here. He did it brilliantly, and that was a big field back then. Today, Zaki's only got 4 to beat, so it's only going to be a small field, and then going on to the Cox Plate. We'll really see how good he is, Zaki, when we get there, but this is Ocean Park winning in 2012. He was a super horse, getting over the top of all too hard there. Weren't they proper horses?
That's right. Well, Piero's running third, if you don't mind. That's how good they were. You don't have the opportunity to ride him out at the beach anymore. He's down in Victoria. Sandown. We're going to take a break. We're going to blow the dust off the history books and look back at some of the great winners of the Underwood.
Travel. First run in 1924 at the Williamstown Racecourse, the Group 1 Underwood Stakes is now held at Caulfield over the 1800 metres. Since Far Lap 1 in 1930 has been won by some of the biggest names in Australian racing.
Bone Crusher the leader, Ed Telek challenging the inside, but Bone Crusher will win. He's hanging on and he comes away again to win a length to Ed Telek.
It's long been a strong form guide for the spring majors.
Northerly a neck in front.
Northerly won it twice.
Northerly sticks his head out and he wins.
And in 2002, parlayed his Underwood win into the Caulfield Cup.
Northerly beats Fields of Omar in a brand Caulfield Cup.
Jearn followed up by winning the Melbourne Cup.
And Jearn's going to win the Melbourne Cup by 2 lengths to Paris Lane.
And So You Think made it an Underwood Cox Plate double.
So You Think controlling it, racing clear.
While the 2020 renewal provided one of the feel-good stories of the spring.
And away they go.
When the 9-year-old Blackheart Bart
just in front of Homesman.
took out the race at odds of 100 to 1.
Previous winners fight it out. Blackheart Bart turns back the clock. What a marvel!
Yeah, he did it at 100 to 1, Blackheart Bart. Last year it was won by Russian Camelot. We were oohing and ahhing about how good he was. I thought he ran really well in a Cox Plate. He was just beaten there on a rain-affected track, but he was terrific this day.
Yeah, he certainly had a lot of X-factor about him, this horse. He was a beautiful, big, imposing sort of horse by Camelot. Good pedigree, good physique, and he was only lightly raced. He only had 11 or 12 starts, I reckon, but he looked like being a world beater.
And now he's at Widden Stud, so I can imagine he'll be really popular there as a son of Camelot, who's a son of Montjeu, so that real staying blood.
Yeah, well, we often bemoan the fact that we sort of don't breed a lot of... We fix that, but we've got a perfect example here, a stallion that's been well patronised this year. He's covered 140 mares. He's going to have the support, he's going to get a chance, and it'll be really good to see how he progresses. I'm not going to see his progeny on the track, obviously, probably 3 years, but he's a real chance. He'll get good support.
I think you're most influenced in racing when you're a kid, and I fell in love with racing with the likes of Bone Crusher. Can I be a racing nerd? Can we look at it again? Bone Crusher versus Attalak. Have a listen to the crowd in the Underwood. This is unbelievable.
Bone Crushers dashed away 3 in front into the straight. The Filbert second from Attalak running on always somehow. Further back, Tristark struggling with our Sophia. At the 200, Attalak out after Bone Crushers, pegging it back at every stride. Bone Crusher the leader, Attalak challenging the inside, but Bone Crusher will win. He's hanging on and he comes away again to win a length to Attalak.
Oh, the sound of the crowd and the sound of Bill Collins, and of course then the mighty Bone Crusher and our Waverley Star went toe-to-toe in the Cox Plate. Have a listen to Bill in action.
The roars of the crowd. He races up to our Waverley Star. 100 out. Bone Crusher, our Waverley Star. Stride for stride. Nothing in it. Our Waverley Star, the rails. Bone Crusher, the outside. And Bone Crusher races into equine immortality.
Oh, how good is that? We're at the roar of the crowd. That's why you fell in love with racing. And I fell in love with racing, started to buy horses. I've got a little tiny share.
Run in 1978 as the Peter Pan Stakes, Rosehill's Group 1 for 3-year-olds changed its name to the Golden Rose in 2003 and has kept that name ever since. Run over 1,400 metres at set weights and now worth a whopping $1 million, the Golden Rose has an impressive honour roll. with many of its winners going on to successful careers at stud.
It's Trapeze Artist a half length clear from Minari.
In recent years, the race has been won by multiple Group 1 winning stars.
He's starting to extend away. Here's a big win.
Trapeze Artist, The Autumn Sun, and Ole Kirk.
North Pacific, stride for stride. Ole Kirk, North Pacific. Bob of the heads, Ole Kirk.
While the trifecta in 2019 all went on to future glory.
And Bivouac wins the Golden Rose.
Exceedance in the Coolmore stud.
And Exceedance on the Coolmore.
Yes, 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 in the Everest. And Bivouac in the Newmarket Handicap.
Bivouac coming away for Bossy. Bivouac's won the Newmarket easily.
It's one of the taglines we use a lot about stallion making race, Henry, but this legitimately is.
Yeah. New race, and I dare say there's probably 4 stallion making races in Australia now. The 2 in Sydney, obviously the Golden Slipper, which it's always been. Now the Golden Rose, which is in theory the 3-year-old version of the Slipper. And in Melbourne it was always the Caulfield Guineas, but now we have the Coolmore at the end of the carnival over the Flemington Carnival. Probably just a reflection of 1,200 being more sought after for stallions now than a mile was back in the day.
Astern had a birthday recently. What a quality horse the mighty Astern has been, Katie.
Oh, absolutely, Richo. Well, he won this race back in 2016. He had his 8th birthday this week, Astern, and he had he was the highest rated son of Medaglia d'Oro. And he doesn't have any representations in the Golden Rose today, but he does have one in the Gloaming and a horse I like in Arnicure. So I think he's doing really good things. I think he stands for 16,500. So he represents some good value there, I think, Richo. So if you've got any mares, maybe send to him.
I agree. He's only emerging, so I think he's got a big future. Astern. Foal of the week. It's been very popular with all of our fans on 7 horse racing. Henry, you've got an absolute beauty here.
You've looked after me with one here, Richo. She's a little ripper, this one. Nice Piero filly out of Pinocchio. So Pinocchio, she wasn't much good on the track herself. She won a maiden at Wyong, but out of a mare called Surrealist. So she's a half to Racing to Win, who we saw win plenty of Group 1 races, and Surrealist to a lesser extent. But I dare say Linda Mons at Tyrrell might retain this because it's the only filly she would have out of the mare, and the mare's getting on in years, so we might not see it through the sales.
So it's a half-sister to Classique Legend.
Classique Legend and Athero. He was a superstar
fantastic
in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no doubting that. Avantage, talking about superstar, Avantage being purchased during the week online for, yes, this is right, $4.1 million, if you don't mind. Coolmore picking her up, 4.1 mil. That's close to the all-time record, isn't it?
Well, we saw Coolmore. I reckon Coolmore paid 4.2 for Sunlight last year, and that was through a physical auction. But certainly, it's a record for an online auction. It's a lot of money, isn't it, for a broodmare? Used to, only talk about stallions in those sort of monetary terms, but she needs to produce a few good horses to pay that back.
Underbidder, Henry Dwyer.
Wouldn't have thought Richo.
Into the boundary gate we go for our next race. This is the Heritage Stakes.